Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another hashtag. So this episode is actually episode 20. Last episode, I said it was 20, but that was 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jess told me afterwards. I was like, ooh. So you're our 20th guest. And another hashtag is a platform for people to speak up on racial justice, to tell their story, and also to share life experiences.
With that being said, come with an open mind, open heart, ready to receive what might be somebody else's perspective on the issues or situations at hand. No negativity. Please leave that out of this feed. We want this to be an open dialogue with people being able to carry a modest conversation. With that being said, if you will have a question or a comment below. And we want to be as interactive as possible with the audience. Yes, episode 20.
Episode 20. And then we're going to go ahead and let David introduce himself.
All right, so my name's David Hollifield. I'm 30. I live right outside of Atlanta, Georgia. I'm married. I've got a 18-month-old son named Carter.
Oh.
My wife and her whole family immigrated here from Cuba in like 2000 and 2001. I'm criminal justice. I've got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and right now I'm getting my law degree. I've served in the National Guard for like 12 years. I went to Afghanistan in 2013. And I mean, is there anything else?
How was that going to
Afghanistan?
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting. It's definitely like a growing experience. I saw a lot of things that made me question. It made me question a lot. Like it made me question my religion. It made me question the government. Like, you know, what am I doing? What I thought I was signing up to do. But I mean, I also got a lot of really good stuff out of it too. And I met, you know, some of the closest friends that I'll probably ever have in my life. So.
That's good. And then, so what are you doing now currently?
I'm just a student right now.
Okay. In law school?
Yeah.
What school do you go to?
Georgia State.
Oh,
Georgia
nice.
State.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good school.
That's what I was just about to ask. What school did you go to?
Okay. And then also you have a podcast, right? Too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, so I started up the podcast back in March, right around the time that, you know, everybody got sent home from COVID. Mm-hmm. But it's like it's mainly politics. It's not really like specific like to racial content or like anything in particular. It's just like current events, and it's kind of just trying to look at things objectively, or at least as objective as I can be. I don't really subscribe to either of the main two parties, and I think both of them are full of shit, honestly. So I try to call both sides, you know, when I see them doing something wrong.
Amen. Everybody need to do that.
I need to look at that, your podcast.
What made you want to go into law school? I know a lot of people will do a criminal justice degree and then they'll kind of go more towards being a police officer or something in law enforcement.
Yeah, so that was actually my intent originally. So both of my older brothers are drug addicts, and they've been in and out of the system for like 15 plus years. And when I first decided to go for my criminal justice degree, I was kind of in the mindset of like, I wanted to go get the bad guys that were like, you know, peddling these drugs to my brothers and stuff like that, you know. But actually it was kind of surprising, like through my getting my criminal justice degree, they teach you a lot about some of the stuff that the criminal justice system has done wrong. And then at that same time, I was also starting to look at like politics and things differently. Like that was also around the same time that I had deployed, and I just started to question things around, you know, what I used to think. And so I originally wanted to be a cop. I was started to go that route, and then I was like, well, I don't really necessarily want to enforce a lot of these laws that I don't think are just in the first place. So then I kind of got away from that, and I actually sold beer and was in the alcohol industry for like 7 years. And but I started getting more passionate about like the criminal justice system, like reform, politics and stuff like that. And my wife and her family and a lot of my friends kind of pushed me in that direction. They're like, well, why don't you just go to law school? And so here I am.
So that's kind of dope that you bring that up, especially with everything with your brothers and whatnot. There's actually a documentary on Netflix of a dad who started learning more about law because his son was actually murdered by his drug dealer in New Orleans. And so he kind of sought out justice for his own son and was trying to figure out what was going on, where were all these illegal drugs coming from. And it was this huge scheme where this doctor was actually prescribing over-prescribing medications to the people in New Orleans and kind of taking like money under the table, and she would do it after hours. So if you guys haven't seen it, definitely look into it, because I can't remember. It's like, I forgot what it's called.
We'll put it in the comments.
I'll put it in the comments. Yeah. But definitely tune into that, because it is a really good look into what goes on behind the scenes with a lot of sketchy doctors.
Yeah, I don't know if I finished that, but I definitely remember that. Like, I remember them, the video footage outside of the doctor's office, like in the middle of the night, there's like a line down the street of people getting like opiates and stuff. So did he end up getting into like criminal justice, or what did he do?
They didn't say specifically what he ended up doing at the end. All I know is that they told him to stop trying to research certain people, that there was like this huge sting operation already in place, but he basically didn't listen to anybody and did his own private investigating and whatnot. I don't know if he became a lawyer afterwards. He should, or at least become a private eye, because he figured out a lot of crap really fast. And it was just a good eye opener.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Okay, David, so we're going to go into the life questions. Have there ever been times you experienced racism yourself or at the expense of others?
I don't think that I've ever been the target of racism. I'm pretty sure I haven't, but I've definitely seen plenty of it. And unfortunately, when I was younger, I probably partook in a lot of like racially insensitive, like joking and stuff like that, and stuff that I've reflected back on. Like, I've reached out to some of the guys that I went to high school with, and I was like, hey man, you know, like, I've looked at this now through a different lens, and I feel like really shitty about the way that I acted in this situation or whatever like that. And so yeah, I mean, I've definitely been a part of that, and it's really unfortunate to say that, but I'm glad that I can see that I was wrong now.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Not that many people will be open about that, or even like honest about that. So
yeah, and it wasn't like it's not even like I was, you know, there was no like malicious intent or anything like that, but it's still, and it really sucks too, because so we went to like a pretty white affluent school, and you know, that's what those black guys grew up around. They grew up around a bunch of white, like kind of like country boys, and so that's what they were used to. So it didn't, I'm sure it bothered them on the inside, but they never let it show. Like, they would laugh with us, and so I was like, obviously there's nothing wrong with it, they're cool with it, they're laughing with me, so obviously it's not a problem, right? But like I said,
it's just kind of one of those situations where they're like kind of outnumbered, so it's either laugh it off or portray yourself as the stereotype.
Yeah, exactly.
And fall victim to that.
Yeah, it's definitely sucks knowing that used to be something I did, but
yeah. But you know, it's good that you actually reached out, like you noticed what you did and reached out and tried to like talk to your friends about it, you know?
Yeah, there was a girl in the army that like me and one of my buddies were like listening to rap. He's a black guy from South Atlanta, and he was like my best friend in the army, and we were just like rapping together, and I said the N-word because it was one of the lyrics in the song, and she went off on me.
Yeah,
that was like the first time. Yeah, that was like the first time that I guess I'd ever really been confronted about it, like especially in that aspect, because it was like, hey, I'm just rapping, like it's in the lyrics, you know. Like, you know, that's how I thought about it at the time. But she like went off on me, and I think that was probably the first time that I had to like think about it, and I was like, she's right. Like that was, yeah, I probably shouldn't do that. So
Yeah, that's one of those weird blurry lines where you're not sure if it's okay, and then you have some black people who be like, well, I give him a pass because that's the homie.
Yeah.
And then other black
yeah,
people are like, nah, don't
yeah,
say that ever.
that's literally like the conversation that happened. Jason was like, "No, he's cool," and she was like, "No."
No.
Nah. I hate that word. I hate when anyone says it. Doesn't matter what race. I just be looking like, damn. Like,
Yeah.
but
in your experience, did you feel that you or your family members believed in any stereotypes when it came to black people?
I never have, but I know for a fact that my parents do, like to this day. Like I've had some really uncomfortable conversations with my parents. Like it happens all the time. They say shit that I'm like, did you really just say that out loud? And so,
Man,
yeah,
I've had
Jessica
some
has
stories.
stories.
Actually, I had an uncle on my grandma's side, and that side's really Italian. And for a lot of people who don't know, there's certain areas in Italy that are like super racist. And he literally said before my mom's wedding, well, we already let a Chinaman into the family. We might as well let a black one too.
wow.
And I was like, oh, wow. So that's what we say around here. Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel you on the, did you really just say that? Like, rewind that in your head and then ask yourself, does that sound like something you should be saying?
Yeah. It's sad. Also, when I went overseas to try to go pro for volleyball, and I went to Italy for one of the places that one of these girls that I met during the tryouts. She was like, "Oh, let's go do like," because her family's from Italy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember where exactly it was in Italy, but when we were walking around, a lot of people were coming up to me, "Congratulations, congratulations." I'm looking like, and even my friends were looking at me like, "Why are they saying congratulations to you?" And I was like, "Oh, like I don't know." And then I thought about it later, and I think it's because I was like the only black person there. So,
but they probably thought you was part of it.
I don't know. They probably thought like it was a rich area though in Italy. Like
Ooh.
I don't know. I forgot where it was, but it was just a very awkward situation because everyone was just saying congratulations to me. I was just like, "Oh, thanks." Like
For what?
yeah.
You never asked? I would have been like, for what?
I mean, I think they couldn't speak. They couldn't speak English. They were just saying congratulations, and then they would be like, I'd just be like, "Oh, thanks," and I'll just walk away. Like, but every single person said it to me, and I was just like, very awkward.
I've heard crazy stories of that happening over in like Asian countries, where when they see a black person, they automatically think, "Oh, that's an athlete, or that's an actor," thought. And they get all excited and take photos, and it's like, black people, they're wrong for this, but some black people will post it online like, "Yeah, I'm famous over here."
I mean, they make it like we're famous, but I don't know. It was just an awkward situation. I just said thanks and kept walking.
Yeah.
But how do you explain to your son? I'm sorry, wait. Yeah. How do you explain to your son when he gets older, like a little older, about racism?
A lot. I don't know. So I told you my wife is Cuban, so my son's half Cuban. But we try to, like, we already have a whole bunch of books that we read to him every night, and he's like obsessed with books anyway, so he's always bringing them to us, like read. And
awesome.
You know, my wife especially has made it a point to like get books that have different, like characters from different backgrounds, cultures, religions. Like we've got a book about like Hindu religion. We've got one about what's her name, Malala, the Pakistani girl. You guys know her story?
Yes.
She not necessarily. Can you explain?
They basically tried to kill her, but I'll go ahead and explain, David.
I can't remember all of the facts, but basically, like there was like an insurgent like reign over the area that she was in Pakistan, and they started like enforcing really strict rules, and one of them was that like girls couldn't go to school, and she still tried to go to school, and they literally like got on the school bus and shot her in the head. and she recovered. She recovered from that gunshot wound, and like her message got like spread throughout the world, and she's become like an advocate and stuff. So
Oh, wow.
it's a really awesome story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just stuff like that, and then we've got like bilingual books that are Spanish, so that him and I am trying to learn a little bit of Spanish too. But we're trying to raise them to be bilingual. But basically,
nice.
the goal
You start young, it's easier.
Yeah. I feel like in general, like you fear what you don't know, and so that's like the whole like xenophobia things. Like if you don't know a Muslim person, then it's gonna be really easy for you to like listen to all this, like all these stereotypes and stuff about them, and see the scary images of them on the news as terrorists and stuff like that. But if you meet them or read about them, learn their culture and stuff like that, you learn that that's not the truth. And so I guess we're just trying to instill that in him from like a very early age. I don't know about I guess one day we'll probably have a real like straight up like racism talk, but in general I think we're just trying to like make his understanding.
Sorry about that. I don't know what came up.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, like, I guess we'll, eventually at some point we'll probably have to have like a talk specifically about racism. But I guess the goal is really to just teach him to be accepting of everybody and not that should never have to be an issue for him.
I think one thing though that a lot of people don't take into consideration is that a lot of times a lot of the blame falls on the parents if somebody isn't acting accordingly or acting appropriately, I should say. Mm-hmm. And it's really not always on the parents. Like they could come from a really good household who maybe doesn't put up with racism or anything of that nature. I work with high school kids. They're completely different at home than they are at school.
Yeah.
And it's based off of who they surround themselves with, who they're trying to look cool for, et cetera, et cetera. Like we had a incident in Camarillo where three white kids were driving in a huge truck down a Black Lives Matter protest, yelling N-words, this, that, and the third. They should all die. And
I never heard this.
This happened like a couple months ago.
Oh, wow.
And nothing really came of it.
Another level.
The parents, I think, ended up having to close their business down because of the pandemic, but then a lot of people stopped going there because of this incident. So it made matters worse for them, which I feel for them on that end. Their son kind of destroyed their livelihood, but no repercussions. The kids are still in school doing what they do. No apologies. The mom said, the kid said sorry, but it's like, then the mom was like, but we didn't teach him to be like this. He's a kid. He made a mistake. But it's like, is it really a mistake when you drive around for 3 hours yelling derogatories out of your window about Black people? I don't know. So I guess the moral of the story is it's not always the parents, but
I feel like you're doing a great job right now.
For sure.
Like not a lot of people even read to their kids. So
yeah. Well, I have to give a lot of credit to my wife. She's like, I've never been a huge reader. She's a 5th grade teacher, and she's
you're in law school.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's all you.
I know it's crazy. I hate
reading now.
Yeah. Shoot. No, I really don't. Like I've read like maybe to finish, I've maybe read like 2 or 3 books my whole life, like on my own choice, like outside of school or something like that. So
I feel
it is kind of crazy that I'm in law school because of that, but yeah.
I started the Harry Potter series as soon as I found out movies were coming out. I was like, nah, I'll catch y'all later. I'm not reading these no more.
I never really read the Harry Potter. I watched all the movies, so.
But yeah, I got to give all that credit goes to my wife, because she's the one she ordered all the books. She had me actually build like a little library in his nursery.
Oh, she's awesome. Yeah. That's dope.
So do you have friends that are not people of color who support the movement?
Yeah, we have a lot of, I think pretty much all my friends. I definitely know a lot of people that don't You know, I know I'm a really big networker, I guess you could say. Like I try to stay in touch with like everybody that I can, like anybody that I've met from like school, from the military, from, you know, undergrad, now law school, like wherever. So I have, you know, at least like a social media relationship where I still talk to a lot of different people that I might have respect for or whatever. And there are plenty of them that don't like my posts because, you know, I'll say something about BLM or whatever. And, you know, they're like, oh, that's divisive, that's racist, whatever. But I definitely have a lot. Like my closest friends, the ones that I actually hang out with and stuff, they definitely are like white people that support it.
That's good.
So kind of touching on that, I didn't know you were in the military before this. Obviously, this is the first time we're all meeting. How do you feel? What is your perception of the movement that Colin Kaepernick started? Kneeling during the national anthem.
I honestly, I don't have any problem with it. I think it's really stupid that anybody has a problem with it. And, you know, most of it is, there are veterans that disagree with it. Like, you know, there's one of my old leaders, he was a first sergeant for me. It's really, really personal for him because he lost people in Afghanistan, and he was on the, what do they call it? Like on the 21 gun salute, like he did like the flag presentation and the firing of the rifles at his, you know, his fallen brother's like funeral. And that's what people connected to. They're like, oh, well, the flag, that's the flag that we laid on our, you know, our fallen soldiers' casket. But that's not what, like, that's never what it was about. Like, it wasn't about like, hey, I'm kneeling because I hate that flag, or hey, I'm kneeling because America's trash and, you know, I hate being an American. It was like, hey, there's something wrong and we need to fix it. So I'm trying to, you know, bring attention to it. Like, that's the whole point of a protest. It's not supposed to be comfortable. It's not supposed to be happy. It's just supposed to like shed light on something. So I also think it's really ironic that you would try to speak up for veterans and the military and say like, you shouldn't do this because it's disrespectful to the military, because we swear an oath to the Constitution that gives them the right to protest. You know, like that's what I served for. I didn't serve for that flag. I didn't serve for the national anthem. I don't, like, that song can go away. That flag can get redesigned. You know, the people in America, our rights and our lives are like what I think we are really serving for. So yeah, I've never had an issue with it. I've had issues with certain things that like Colin Kaepernick has done himself as a person, but I don't, you know, that I can separate whatever issues I have with him from the movement, you know.
Right. I agree. Amen to everything you just said.
Yeah,
I feel like
well said.
It definitely did get misconstrued, which I kind of find crazy, because he did an interview and they asked him, why are you kneeling? And he said there's police brutality.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody's like, oh my God, he's kneeling because of the flag and he hates the flag. And I was like, wait a minute. He literally told you
guys like
why he was kneeling. And
but there's another aspect of that too, is that he originally sat on the bench and was like, I'm not going to get up. And then a special forces
Nate Boyer,
he contacted him and was like, hey dude, can we meet up and talk about this, because it's really disrespectful. And they met up and they heard each other's side and they came to a compromise and were like, you know, he was like, hey, you know, at least be respectful if you took a knee, you know, like be respectful to the flag because of fallen soldiers and stuff like that. And taking a knee is a sign of respect. Like the symbol of like a fallen soldier, you can see this like decal on the back of people's vehicles all the time, is like a rifle. It'll be a rifle like stuck in a pair of military boots with a helmet on top of it.
Yeah.
And the person, it's a soldier kneeling at that because they're showing, you know, it's a sign of respect to their fallen brother. And then people kneel to the cross. People kneel for all kinds of things.
Right.
And it's always
a player
a sign
gets
of respect.
Injured and people kneel. Like, it's not an uncommon practice. It's kind of a well-known thing, a common sense thing. So the fact that they kind of like took it and ran with it, I'm like, you guys are mad at Kaepernick, but why are you not mad at Nate Boyer when he's the one that suggested this form? Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, it kind of boils down to, because I come from a huge military background, it kind of boils down to, why are we trying to hide behind an excuse using our military service as a reason to be upset? But I don't see anybody jumping the gun to support the military once they discharge from the military.
No.
What about the VA services? What about
Oh
these
my
homeless veterans that we have? All these veterans that suffer from PTSD. But y'all mad because a black guy with a big fro is kneeling at a football game?
Yeah, no, that's something that it pisses me off too. We're a pawn, like, you know, we're just a
Big time.
convenient, we're a convenient like talking point. You know, whenever you want to tell somebody to shut up, just bring up the veterans. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. If somebody is complaining about something, just bring up the veterans, because that's like the ultimate like trump card to be
Right.
like, oh, well, what about the veterans? It happens all the time, but nobody really, like, these people don't care. They're not out here like doing something for veterans. They're not like donating their
Facts.
money. They're not out here like, you know, starting their own protests to fix the VA system or anything like that. They're not saying, hey, let's call our congressman and make sure that they fix the VA system and take care of our troops, make sure that they get our troops home and get us out of these endless wars. It's just the talking point. That's all it is.
Big time. And it's you guys are being used as a scapegoat, basically. And seeing what my grandpa has to go through with the VA, I'm just like, what? Why are we not more mad at this? But it's because these people have never experienced it. It's just convenient to use it.
Yeah, it's just an easy way to tell people to shut up. It's like, and it really doesn't even matter. Like, it doesn't matter what Kaepernick decided to do. It's never good enough. Like, we've seen that there. How many different types of protests, peaceful protests, have people done? And it's always, you're like, well, why didn't you do it this way? Like, I actually had a conversation with, so it was actually that same guy, the one that I said, like, this whole thing is really personal for him because he's like, he was in the funeral process and all that stuff. Him and his wife kind of went back and forth on me for like 2 days about this. And his wife jumped in and was like, well, why aren't they putting their millions of dollars into the community? And I was like, hold on, let me take half a second to go Google that for you real quick, and linked it. And was like, here's, you know, LeBron James did this, Kaepernick did this, millions of dollars. Here's a school that they founded. Here's a program that they started. And then it changed. You know, she shifted it and was like, okay, well, they did that, but what are they doing for police reform? Are they actually helping like start police reform? Are they pushing legislation? And I was like, oh, let me take half a second again to do your own research for you, because you clearly didn't do it. And was like, okay, here's a link. Look at this. They did this. Like, and it just, every single time that I had an answer for them that was super easy to find on Google, like, they're just like, you know, they just move the goalposts. Okay, well, they should have done it this way. They should have done it this way. It's like, so basically what you're saying is you're never going to be satisfied.
Yeah. Facts. I think the funniest rebuttal I've seen is somebody say the Jewish people in America are more persecuted against than African Americans at this time of day. And I was like, what? Don't Jewish people own? Okay. I was
So
like, okay.
What they probably did is they saw the statistics for hate crimes and either misinterpreted or somebody told it to them wrong. Jewish people are the most persecuted people in America religiously, but it's not anywhere close. It's not anywhere close to like racially.
But even then, I told her, I said, shoot, after 9/11, I'm pretty sure Muslims probably take the cake on that at this point.
Well, according to FBI statistics, they're not, but
oof, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah.
They maybe, I think probably like within the first like 5 or 10 years of 9/11. I'd have to look at it now, but I know like right now today, Jewish people.
It's Jewish people.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that we're not looking at religious persecution. We are looking at literally somebody being judged by the color of their skin. Like, imagine that. Imagine walking down the street and somebody sees you're darker and they're just like, oh, they probably this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And it's like the worst thoughts of popping up in your head. I'm not going to know if somebody's Jewish walking down the street or not.
True.
Unless they are wearing, it's called a yarmulke, right?
Yeah.
Unless they're wearing their yarmulke. And at the end of the day, Jewish people were compensated for all of their past traumas. As late as 2019, France paid us and we paid them, the Jewish people. Why we're the ones having to divvy out all that money, like the middleman, I have no clue. I didn't look into it either, but I feel like that's a beef between Germany and everybody else. That's beyond me, but let Black people talk about reparations, and it's a convenient no.
All right, so what does the phrase Black Lives Matter mean to you, David?
That Black Lives Matter. I mean, that's it. Yeah, I've had that conversation too with a lot of people. Had to try to, I try to reach people, like even when a lot of people probably think that they can't be reached, or that you shouldn't even try to give them like the effort to try to reach them. But like, if I see that analogy and put in different ways, then I'll try to share those. Like somebody shared it in a Christian light. Like I grew up Christian. I'm not really anymore, but I can still relate to that. And so, so somebody shared it as in like Jesus, or the shepherd and the 99 sheep, or 100 sheep, whatever it was. One sheep wandered off, and he left the 99 sheep to go find that one, because that one was the one that was in trouble. That doesn't mean that he doesn't care about the other 99 sheep. It means that one sheep is the one that needs his attention right now. So, that's it in a nutshell. It doesn't mean only Black Lives Matter. It just means that, Black Lives Matter too, and we should take care of them.
It's almost like we had to add the two at the end of the statement for people to chill the hell out. It's crazy.
Yeah.
My favorite. When people say, I don't see color, what instantly comes to your mind?
So, all right. So in the Army, like one of the first speeches you get is that we're all green. Like there's no more race, there's no sex, whatever. We're all green. So like they try to stamp that into you. And I feel like when most people say that, they probably, they're coming from a good place when they say it, but it just kind of like erases like a lot of things that don't need to be erased. Like you don't need to pretend that we're all the same and we're all equal, because first off, we're not all equal and we're not all the same. Like there's a lot of like nuances, like cultures are different. I don't know. I don't know exactly how, like what I'm trying to say, but basically I think it's stupid. Like if you actually want to try to say like you don't see color, because there's plenty of stuff to see. Like we all gain something by seeing like the differences in each other's cultures and stuff like that.
Right. It's America's biggest like weapon is our diversity. This is what one of my friends said. Our biggest weapon is our diversity, but we're failing at understanding one another and our cultures. And if we could all work together, like America's already powerful, but if we could all work together with no issues, imagine how much more powerful we could be as a united States of America.
Yeah. No, I mean that would be something. Like that would be incredible, honestly. But yeah, like I said though, I don't think that it's like I don't automatically get like a negative feeling out of it, I guess, because I feel like some people really are saying that because they don't
prejudge.
Yeah, but I don't think that that's the right way to look at it.
Yeah, I still am waiting for an answer from a lady who said that to me. I said, if you don't on Facebook, I stay on Facebook.
Facebook people.
She said, I don't see color, and I said, okay, if you call the cops and they ask what color is the suspect, are you going to say they're blue? Or are you going to say I don't see color? You're going to give a description. Right?
Yeah.
Nothing. I'm still waiting for an answer. I genuinely want to know the answer to this question. Are you going to give the color description of the person?
Does she also say that blue lives matter?
Yes, she does. Which I'm like, there's no blue people.
There's no blue
that's
people.
Ironic.
Like, that's annoying. Yeah. So why do you think white people have a hard time understanding the movement?
I think a lot of white people just don't want to. I think that it's inconvenient, and they're tired of hearing Black people complain. I guess I I think there's a lot of different explanations for it, but not any good ones. But yeah, I mean, I think like I also think that there's a lot of older people that saw more blatant racism, and it's harder for them to see like the more like obscure racism or like the hidden, you know, the institutionalized racism type stuff. So they're like, what, this isn't racist. Like, you know, when I was growing up, I saw, you know, I couldn't go into the coffee shop or whatever, you know, that kind of stuff, or I got called the N-word in public, or I couldn't go to school with white kids. Like, that's racism. This isn't racism.
Oh, got called the N-word.
So, yeah. But I don't know. I feel like they, you know, there's some people that think that way, and then there's also some people that just literally just don't care, and they just don't want to hear it. They just don't want to hear people complain. They also don't want to have to like question themselves. Like, people don't want to have to like think about, oh, am I doing something wrong? Like, should I be doing this differently? There's just like a lack of compassion.
I want to touch on something you said where a lot of them might be tired of hearing Black people complain. Shit, I'm tired of hearing Black people complain. Black
So
people
do something about it.
For over 400 years. Like, it's time we do something. I don't understand how much more patient they expect Black people to be.
Yeah.
Where it's normal for them, like the regular white people, and for Black people, it's like, this shit is not normal.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
And it's not only white people too, other races.
Yeah.
Don't
I think
understand
that,
the
you know,
movement either. It's like, what?
I've had conversations.
I've had 2 Mexicans in the last 2 days say the N-word, and I was like, hold on.
No, like,
don't do that.
I've had conversations with some, I don't know if I would say older, they're probably in their 40s, but Black guys that are like, you know, they see racial issues in America still, but they don't see it, like, they definitely don't see it the same way BLM sees it, and they don't agree with BLM, like, as a movement. And that was always something that confused me too.
Yeah, that is confusing.
I don't really know if I ever got like a real answer, but I guess like, well, part of it is the like the rioting and the like violent protests and
Which
stuff like that
isn't even done by Black majority.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is crazy. And I think the biggest issue is you have a movement and then you have an organization that both are screaming Black Lives Matter. Do I agree with the organization? Hell no. But the movement itself, most definitely. And I think that's where a lot of people get their wires crossed, because they're like, well, it's Marxist. And I'm like, yes, the organization, most definitely. The movement itself, no.
Right. The phrase, like, it still means that Black Lives Matter. Whether some Marxist organization has claimed it doesn't matter to me. Like, you know, millions of people right now that are following that movement and that are out in the streets. You think that we all went online and like, hey, we're going to sign up to the BLM movement and donate money to them because we liked their cause or whatever. Like, that's not what it is. We're not out there representing an organization. We're making a statement that is that, you know, Black Lives Matter. So,
And
yeah, I think
feel like
people have a hard time separating the two.
Yeah, which is huge, because a lot of times I think that they think, I don't know if they think the organization's like, yo, we about to protest in Atlanta, gather all your people, or what they think is going on. But I'm like, no, they don't have a hand in a lot of the protests that are going on. It's individuals like you and me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like grassroots type stuff. And also there's like, I feel like Antifa is a huge issue, honestly. Like,
Big time.
Oh yeah.
I think that they just like, they're like anarchists at this point. They don't, they're taking advantage of a really volatile situation and trying to say that they're doing it for Black people when they're not. Like, it's,
and Black people are like, we don't want you here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times, like, when I see these buildings and shit being burned down, it's a white guy with, you know, Antifa attire on. Yeah.
I'm like, wait a second. It's a white guy with dreads. And I'm like, oh God. So what does cultural appropriation mean to you? And do you think that the phrase is a little overused?
So appropriation to me is like if you took somebody else's culture for your own game and at their expense. Like that's kind of how the way I see it. And looking at it through that frame, I feel like it does get like kind of thrown out a little too often. Like you just brought up like white guy with dreads, or whatever. Like I think that that is something that, I mean, personally, this might be my privilege speaking, but I feel like that's not really something. Historically, first off, you know, there were Nordic like Vikings and stuff that were white people that had dreads.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, and but also besides that, is it hurting your culture for other people not like you to share your culture? You know,
Nope.
if you're doing it maliciously, that's one thing. But if they're like, hey, this is really like, I like that. Can I like do that with you?
Yeah.
You know, I feel like why not?
Right. I agree wholeheartedly. I think it's how they present it and their intentions behind it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched the last show. Was it the last show or the show before? And we talked about Adele and her Bantu knots that she had and her Jamaican flag bikini that she wore. And somebody, what was her name? Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. It was your friend.
Bree. The one that we interviewed?
Was it Bree or?
It was Bree.
No. It was before Bree. I'm drawing a blank on her name.
Evan?
Yes.
Okay.
Evan said that she was reading something online and they were saying that Adele doesn't even live in America, so we can't speak on what Adele's doing. What is your take on something like that, where if you're seeing racism occurring in a whole different country, do you kind of like stray away from that, or do you feel like that's something that should be tackled regardless?
I actually had this conversation, I think, with my wife like last week, where people say that you're not allowed to have an opinion on something because you haven't done it, or you haven't been a part of it, or it doesn't apply to you or whatever. Like I don't like, logically that doesn't make any sense to me, because like if I'm a white person speaking up for black people, you know somebody could say the same thing, like, oh, well, you know, why do you have anything to say about racism? You're white, you know it's not happening to you. But also, like, you don't have to experience something to know that it's good or bad. So yeah, does that answer?
I actually want to talk about what we were, because I talked to my cousins about the situation with Adele, and I was like thinking about it. I was like, wasn't she at a festival though?
She was. I think where it got weird was when she started posting
the slang
that Jamaicans would use. That's when I was like,
I mean, but like, isn't that the
awkward
same thing of saying like something in Spanish, right?
I don't be saying nothing in Spanish,
so
unless I have to.
So I feel like it was more appreciation.
Okay, so let me put it to you this way. You could appreciate something without like going above and be like overboard. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, go ahead and support the culture, but what's the point of using the slang? So now let's say I came to school dressed in a sombrero or whatever because it's Mexican Heritage Month.
Okay.
I'm not gonna write mi vida loca on my Instagram caption. I'm gonna put.
Yeah, I feel like it's a really weird line to try to draw, but I understand. Like at a certain point, it gets cringy. You know, it's like, why are you doing that? Like, I feel that way with a lot of politicians. Like at the Democratic National Convention debate, like every single one of them taking turns showing that they can say one line in Spanish, and it's just like, it gets uncomfortable at a certain point. Or like when they did the kneeling thing with the African. You know what I'm talking about? It was like the Congress, the Democratic.
Oh my God, we gonna talk about Pelosi.
Oh.
Yes, yeah.
I was like, what is he? Oh,
yes.
And that was like that's like a protected, like decorative. I can't remember what is it. Ghana.
Ghana uses it. Some other places in Africa use it.
But it's like a protected clothing. Like nobody's supposed to just wear that for any reason. So it's just like.
Hope, to answer your question, if it's only because Adele is a worldwide celebrity, no. If you were to do it and do some weird stuff, I'd be like, okay, she weird for that, and I'd move on about my day. I mean, I'm not gonna sit and
maybe the slang was a little bit too much.
Yeah,
but I didn't think
if you're at a festival and you're dressing accordingly, do your thing.
What if someone at the festival was doing their hairs and then she was like, oh, that's dope, I want to get my hair like that too?
Then go ahead, do your thing, but
I'm
to
not
be
sure about
like,
the slang part.
yeah,
I
no.
don't. Well, I don't know because like I'm not gonna lie, I say like some Spanish stuff too, and I mean,
But
I
again,
guess I
you're
gotta
not
look at myself.
dressing in a sombrero
Yeah,
or
I
anything
mean,
Mexican-like and using it. And look at the area you're in.
or like in Hawaii when I wear like the ias. Like,
Are you in Hawaii?
I mean, yeah, but
Are
I
you
don't.
out
I
there
guess I don't
speaking
know
Hawaiian?
how. I mean,
But okay, but imagine being
it's
a
kind of
Hawaiian
hard.
person
Like,
and seeing you and like say like you know what I'm saying? It's like kind of just like a cringy.
At the end of the day, she's white. That's what it is. You're white and you're over here trying to speak Jamaican slang. Like, we know you're white.
okay,
It's not like we're sitting here like, what is Adele? She looks racially ambiguous. Homegirl is white.
okay. I mean,
If you grew up in Jamaica and you're white, that's a different story. But
I don't think she was trying to make it. In that
no,
way,
she
though,
wasn't. But that's what I'm saying is a lot of people don't think before they do. So then it becomes cringy.
Okay.
Like if you saw somebody in blackface, what would you say?
Oh no, that's different.
Okay, so
That's not way different though, Jeff.
but if it's an African American themed party, that's what I'm saying. Some white people don't think before they do, and then they do stupid stuff like that.
So like if the slang wasn't there,
The slang wasn't there, do your thing, girl.
Okay.
But what? Okay.
So then I need to look at myself because certain things that I be doing with different cultures.
I'm reading these comments. They're kind of funny. They're pretty funny.
I say gracias amigos to people who are
My Nina, you
Mexican.
live in Oxnard though. Everybody dang near speaks Spanish.
Mm-hmm. No,
So what are your thoughts on political parties, specifically their lack of commitment to the people?
When you say the people, do you mean black people or like just everybody?
People in general. If you want to break it down to black people, we can.
Yeah, we could talk about that all night. So I think I said earlier, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. Like right now, I'm side the most with the Libertarian Party because like most of their values represent me. They definitely have some wacko people and some wacko ideas too that I don't necessarily think would work in the real world. But for the most part, they're representative of what I want. I want the most freedoms for all people, and the least amount of government intervention possible. Like that's just how I think things should work. I think the world would work more efficiently and people would be more equal that way. But as far as like lack of commitment to the people, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to change, like the way that the political system is run right now, the way that lobbyists can just like throw money at them to do whatever, like big pharma and stuff like that, the military industrial complex, the private prison systems and stuff like that. They don't really have to be accountable to people because they're getting their pockets filled, and I don't know. I don't really know. Like, I mean, all that we can do to change that is to get into office ourselves, I guess, or put enough pressure on them and vote the bad ones out. But we have to actually be informed, and most people aren't informed. They just vote their party line, and
right.
That's one of really the biggest issues, I guess, is people just blindly follow their political party. So it doesn't really matter, what they did wrong. Like like Joe Biden is a perfect example for me. Like, he's been in politics for how many years? Like 40 something years. And his legacy in politics has been writing legislation that directly led to the mass incarceration of black people. He was strongly against gay marriage up until like at least 2006.
Right.
And people are just like willing to like look past that because it's the lesser of two evils or whatever. And
Which
they're like, oh, well, maybe he's changed or whatever. Like you're going to give this man 50 years to figure out that he's stupid and like a bigot. But, and I'm in no way a supporter of Donald Trump at all, but he's only been in politics for 4 years, or you're not going to give him another 50 years to figure out what he's doing wrong. Like, what's going on here? But,
Harris is just as guilty though, and she's half black.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like, who are we really voting for? We're going to give our vote to the Democrats because why? what are they going to give us at the end of the day? The past 2 elections, I've voted for Gary Johnson. He's a Libertarian Party.
Yeah.
I'm not voting for Trump, and I'm not going to vote for Biden. I will vote for whoever I think is best and sleep easy at night when everybody else is like, damn, I shouldn't have voted for that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like everybody wants to guilt trip us too into like, you know, well, it's your fault.
Vote is a waste. And
It's
I'm
your
like,
fault that it's your fault that the bad guy's gonna win. I'm like, no, actually, it's your fault because you didn't vote for the best candidate. You voted for a party line.
Right.
And also, the DNC picked the worst 2 candidates that they had available. Like, if we're like, streets are burning down right now because of the criminal justice system treating minorities badly, and you pick the guy that literally wrote the bill that freaking funded the militarization of the police force, created mandatory minimum sentencing, created the 3 strikes rule, and Kamala Harris, who is like prosecuted victimless crimes, put people in prison for freaking weed, which shouldn't even be illegal.
No.
I feel like those people that are in prison for
released.
weed, they should be released like
ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it's
yesterday.
legal now. Like,
you have all these white people out here that I've seen building these weed shops and capitalizing off of it.
exactly. But then there's people still in jail just
And
for
I'm like,
having weed on them. Like,
I know somebody that's in there for 15 years because of weed. So
yeah, no, that's crazy. I think the war on drugs in general, I think we need to end that and look at decriminalizing drugs in general, because we're treating it's, in my mind, it's a mental problem. It's a mental health issue, not a criminal issue.
Facts.
And the way that we have treated it has led us to the country with the highest incarceration rate in the world and the highest drug overdose rate in the world. And when you get out of jail or prison, your likelihood of overdosing and dying goes up like 500% or some crazy like that. So, like, we're compounding the issue and making it worse. You give somebody a criminal record, they can't get a job. So what are they going to do?
And they can't vote either.
They can't vote.
Yeah.
That's basically why they.
And that's another thing that needs to change. Like, I don't think that, you know, you broke the law or whatever. Maybe while you're in jail, or maybe like while you're in prison, maybe don't not be allowed to vote, but to lose your rights for the whole rest of your life. Like, you're still a citizen of the United States that deserves to be represented in some way.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
but that goes back to the loopholes of modern day slavery, because the most incarcerated person in America is the Black man. You take away his rights by throwing him in jail. He can't vote. He's not considered a dutiful citizen anymore. Mm-hmm. And they have to struggle to find these jobs. And then they wonder, oh, why are Black men like this? And it's like, bro, because you made it this way. It's not that hard.
Like that. Yeah.
We
only have a few more minutes left.
Yeah,
so we should talk about this though.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
How do you feel about the education system and how Trump wants patriotic education to be taught?
So I haven't actually looked at like what that program looks like. I don't know what he's actually trying to push in that, but I don't like it. I don't like it. I think it's also ironic that they talk about an indoctrination in the education system, but then they're like literally trying to do that themselves in the opposite direction. Which I also don't think that the education system is doing what they think it's doing. Like, it's not doing enough. Like, it's the education system already, like, teachers have to go out of their way to make sure that they teach kids the real history.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's like, with what time? School days have been cut shorter and shorter. They don't have the ability to fit all the kids into classes. It's just like, then the textbooks are BS to begin with. Mm-hmm. If you've read through a history textbook in high school, it's like, what is this crap?
Mm-hmm.
You telling me Columbus just sailed over here, was like, what's up, everybody? Let's have Thanksgiving. That's basically what everybody is learning right now.
Mm-hmm.
Last couple things. What are you actively doing to make a change, or what would you like to do, and where do you think we should start in order to see it?
So I got together like right after George Floyd And I contacted a guy that he runs a veterans organization out of Atlanta because I already knew like he was going to be on top of this. So I was like, hey, do you already have something set up, or can we set something up? But I want to like get a group of veterans together to like just make some kind of like community program that supports this movement. And he was already on it. So we met up at the King Center in Atlanta and kind of like planned something out to where it was like a community program where like everybody has their own lane that they can work in. Like not everybody can do the same thing. You know, protesting is good. Raising awareness through social media and stuff like that is good. But there's also like, you know, some people can get into politics themselves. Like some people can try to run for office locally. Some people can advocate to politics, to politicians. You know, maybe go join the police force and be the change from inside, you know, stuff like that. So it was just kind of like trying to brainstorm, you know, what can we do at the local level? And one of them was like reaching out to police departments and seeing if they have what's called a citizens review board. And like anybody can ask that question. You can go to your local police station and say, hey, do you guys have a citizens review board? And if they don't, then you like have to contact somebody within the county and request it. And like, you know, you might have to sign a petition or get a petition signed to get it going. But basically that like creates a board for the community to be able to have input with the local police.
So yeah, that's really good, David. Sorry to cut you off a little bit. We only have like 39 seconds. What could people that are watching right now take from this interview?
I don't know.
20 seconds.
Be critical of all your politicians, regardless of what your party is, and teach your kids about different cultures.
Hey, thank you, David, for being on our show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Everyone that's watching, please share. If you want to be on our show, DM us. And thanks for
check
watching.
Check out his podcast.
Oh, yeah, his podcast. We'll put it in the